catcher, Mike Marjama. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me as well.
So this is your first year at the AA level. What's it been like so far? You spent all of last year at High A Charlotte. Now you're here in Montgomery. How's it been?
Well, I finally cracked into AA after quite a few times in A-ball now, so it's been good. It's a good experience. The team here is wonderful. The guys have been great. A lot of the same guys from last year, so it's been a wonderful team, great coaches, great atmosphere here, and I've really enjoyed my time so far.
And what about living in the city of Montgomery, Alabama?
Well, sure isn't California. I guess in the sense that the humidity and it's hot. I guess it gets hot back home, but this humidity is unreal. But it's a great city, a lot of history, a lot of culture. Ballpark is wonderful, people are wonderful, so gotta love the Southern culture here.
Well, you had a good night last night. You hit a 3-run home run off the Coke sign up there, just under Monty. You're hitting .368 in your last 10 games. And you're really starting to hit the ball well. Why is that, though? You've really started to come around in the second half.
I talked with Chapman's our hitting coordinators, beforehand. We were talking, and I said, I don't know. I stopped trying. I guess it's not politically correct, but I guess the best word for it is just taking the pressure off yourself. I think a lot of my time, the second half, I've really focused on calling the game, working on my defense, and not so much about hitting, but more or less just putting together a quality at bat. Seeing good pitches, working the count, but just mainly getting a good pitch to hit and hitting it, and that's kind of what we all say is, as hitters, is just getting a good pitch. And ideally, when you're doing that, I put some good swings on the ball and found a little luck, I guess.
For the last 7 games, you've hit second, and you will bat second again tonight for the 8th time. At the beginning of the season, though, you were anywhere between 5 and 7. Is there a difference in your approach because of that?
Yes and no. I guess in the second half, I've worked on kind of taking more pitches, working the count, kind of helping the guy behind me, have a better at bat, being able to see some pitches and allowing kind of the train to keep going. I hit a little bit there in college. I've always been able to handle the bat a little bit, so I think this kind of helps. But just being able to put together good at bats, help the team out, and hopefully the guys behind me, those are the guys, Willie and Casey and Pat, and these guys can really hit. So it's amazing that the guys and Jake, the guys on our team, being able to kind of set the table for them and then let them do what they do because they're so good.
You started your career with the White Sox organization as a third baseman. So this whole catching thing is very new to you, and you've admitted to me that sometimes, in fact, often more times than not, catching can be a bit more mentally taxing than playing third base. How has that transition been for you?
It's been, I always like to consider myself a student of the game, I guess, or a perfectionist, or what you would call is paying attention to the details. Being an infielder was like, man, I gotta go field my ground balls and break, and that was, all you had to do. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it, but when you're catching and you're involved in calling every pitch of the game, and me and Paul Hoover, who I give so much credit to for my development as a catcher, not really even catching much last year, is when you get, at the higher levels, you'll have guys, you get them out one way, and you can't get them out that way again because they're going to start making adjustments to that. So you're going to have to get them out a different way. And really learning the game, paying attention to the details. Even, like tonight I'll be DHing, I'm going to be watching very intently on how Jake's calling the game and how our pitchers are getting their guys out. So when we come into the game, we can kind of make adjustments off of that. So every night you're dialed in from pitch 1 to however long it goes. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it's also very humbling when you get a guy to you get a guy through 7 innings, he gives up 1 or 2 hits, or you call a game like that. Not all of it's on you. He's got to execute, but knowing that sometimes maybe the fingers you're putting down are doing some good.
Well, last question before I get you out of here. You've seen a variety of different pitches in your brief time as a catcher. One of those new pitches that you've seen this year, though, has been the knuckleball from Jared Mortensen. He came in the game last night. Just how challenging is it to catch a knuckleball, especially one from a guy who's still learning how to throw one?
Well, his is like 80 miles an hour, too, so it's right. And guys are, most guys big leagues throw like 68 or 70 or whatever it is. I was funny. We had a picture of me catching with the knuckleball glove on. I guess it was my first baseman's glove because whatever I was using, I tried different stuff. It's all, I guess it's a superstition.
You're a student of the game, man.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, and I was coming across online on like different, hey, how can I be a better knuckleball catcher? And so I'm googling
Spend a lot of time
YouTubing
on Google.
it. I figure professional baseball players should do that, right? So I was on there going, hey, you know what? And I came across Bob Euchre. He said, I think he went along the line, something, the best way to catch a knuckleball is to wait till it stops rolling and then pick it up.
There you go.
So that was a good one. And then my other one I came across was like catching a knuckleball is trying to catch a butterfly with chopsticks. And, you know, it's very, very, if you ever have a chance, look at Stephen Wright's, his is unbelievable. Morty's is fantastic. You know, work on keeping on the play a little bit more, but it's an experience. I've wore a few off the body so far, so it's something new. I mean, I thought I was going to work on my catching in general, but trying to catch an unpredictable pitch is it's quite challenging, but it's fun. It keeps the game interesting.
Well, you could have fooled us. I think you're doing a great job back there. It's your first full season as a catcher. Mike Marjama, thanks so much for joining us on the Biscuits pregame show.
Thanks for having me, guys.